Oh, hi, it's Dave. So, I'm going to do a story today. Today's story, first story, is about Lieutenant Governor Josh Green. Most everybody here in Hawaii who's resident in here does not like him. Only the people who have wealth like him because he serves their interests, especially the hotel industry and the restaurant association and others with whom they give him millions of dollars to run for governor so that they can, in the end, I've been in politics since I was 18, a few years ago. I worked for Robert Kennedy, I worked for Wayne Morse, U.S. Senator of Oregon, I worked for the Councilman Tom Bradley when he ran for mayor of Los Angeles. I worked for numerous other community college board and congressional candidates and state representatives, and here too as well in Hawaii. I'm pretty knowledgeable about politics. Anyway, so he, like most politicians, as you know, say whatever they think we want to hear, so we will vote for them. And then they go around and end up doing what the people who gave him the millions of dollars to run want them to do, and not very much except for word games for working people. He does not have your interest at heart. He may be a nice guy. But when you think about it, everyone who's always offered you the world, they all end up getting in office and end up like, well, you could tell with Ige, right? What happened there? Not much. You didn't get much out of him either. What they have them for in that position as governor is to put a halt to certain bills in the legislature which might help the general welfare of everybody in Hawaii, everybody, and that have good consequences. And so that you see all the good ideas that we all come up with get killed because they know that he will veto them, and most likely the legislature, when it comes back to do some veto overrides, just don't. I don't know why. I'm not privy to that, or knowledgeable of why they make that decision not to override, but they could. Certain bills, maybe it's votes. I don't know. Anyway, we need to start electing. You need to start electing people who don't get millions of dollars, and that would be. Kurt Caldwell has lost all his campaign donations because all the rich seem to be putting their money on Green, which is a bad sign. And so the other one is Ikaika Anderson and Vicky Cayetano, and maybe Tulsi Gabbard, and Kirk. So anyway, vote for anybody but Josh Green. Anybody but Josh Green is where I'm at right now. Let's give you a couple of instances where he would be fired if he worked in a corporation. He has contradicted the governor so many times, too many times to count. He has, if he were right under a CEO of a company, he would, hang on here, I'm gonna get rid of that. He would be fired by now because he keeps contradicting his boss for his own purposes, because he's trying to play us all. Ige is just useless and boring and weak, but he's the boss, and he contradicts him. Here's a couple of examples of things that Josh Green did last week. I think, let's talk about the people outside his apartment making noise and demonstrating, who I don't agree with. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not an anti-vaxxer. We'll leave it there. This guy, Josh Green, stands out on a balcony of his, looks like penthouse, at a building right across from the Capitol. And it was sort of like what you see behind me. You would see the Capitol building, and you'd have a very good idea, because that's the first high-rise there, exactly where he lived. So the people in that building should be mad at Josh Green for giving up his location. A friend of mine in the legislature said, well, they found out because they went on the campaign finance reporting page. I couldn't even find that thing. They may have. But you know what? Once he did that video and it got out everywhere, everyone knew. A few people knew about it and maybe led them there. But now everybody knows. And the guy is a crybaby. Oh, I got death threats, which are not nice. Probably online. I don't think anyone knows his personal phone number. Everyone gets, go read social media comments about us. Josh Green. Why don't you get out of your gilded cage, your little bubble of all your security in your penthouse, and walk around on the streets of Honolulu than any major city like a regular person, which I'm sure you occasionally do, but only when you pull up in whatever expensive car you have to go get your fast food without a mask, where you've been caught many times. And see what happens out here at night where I live. You walk around and you look at one of our meth heads, and you just look in their direction, and they think they're so high. They threaten to kill you, or they hit you with a metal bar, or they stab you. But you are protected. The rest of the people are not. I'm so tired of these people. Stop calling me people. Anyway, it's Humana. They won't leave me alone. I'm not interested in their stuff. They want me to train my pharmacy over them. I'm not waiting for a prescription. Stop, Humana. It's like it's about the 100th time Humana's called me to try to get my prescriptions delivered to my house. I still keep calling back. Anyway, so back to Josh Green. So, he's a crybaby. Back during the summer, during the Black Lives Matter rally, which drew 10,000 people over multiple days, he said, just like he said recently, everybody has the right to protest. They all walked along here on Ala Moana Boulevard and during the day and made, a lot of noise, disrupted everybody's days. These people. One day I was going to see a show at Next Door in Chinatown. At Next Door in Chinatown, and I was sitting across the street from the state capitol. I saw the anti-vaxxers. They just colorful characters partying. He called it partiers. And I noticed they all congregated together and they were talking. And my bus came to take me to this bar on Hotel Street. Punk reggae band. I'm 71 going to see a punk reggae band. I'm a cool old man. Anyway, and I don't know what they did, but I go to show, and later on I see that I had no idea where he lived. I didn't see the video until later because I just don't look at his stuff. I know better. It's a waste of time. Anyway, we'll get more onto that in a bit. So I guess they went to his building and stood outside his building and banged pots like union members do. It's bad for them, but it's okay when he supports the union. I'm a big supporter of the union. I was one of those guys banging pots in front of the Sheraton Princess Kailani at night. You're all welcome. Anyway, welcome to the wonderful world of American First Amendment rights. Josh Green. You mouth that they have the right to protest, but when it disturbs your neighbors who are paying $5,000 a month for their one-bedroom units, or $5,000 and up, that's disturbing because they're complaining to you that they know that you brought this on them. Anyway, and so suddenly that group of partiers that you commented and called partiers around news time, around 5 o'clock, suddenly later by 10 o'clock you're calling them a mob. And it's always a handful or less of people who are flashing the lights. Suddenly everybody is bad for the bad behavior of a few with the lights. The pots and pans live with it. I got bands around here till 10 o'clock at night. I got motorcycle gangs doing wheelies down the street. You think you're interested in helping to put a stop to it? Josh Green, you could give up about what's going on for all the people who live along here and elsewhere in town. It's just your neighbors are bitching at you in the elevator. You're a crybaby. The anti-Semitic thing is probably, a few people again, bad people. And you use that as an opportunity, really more to get yourself on TV to promote your campaign. I don't think you really were concerned. I mean, I've heard people call me that before. I'm half Irish, by the way. We celebrate Christian holidays in our house. Anyway, then what's the other thing he did? Oh, he said one day that we were approaching capacity in the hospitals and that we might have to have some sort of shutdown restrictions, which was just a bunch of bullshit mouth stuff. I mean, the next day on CNN, he's on talking about things, and he said we're at 20% over capacity. His story changes to get himself on TV. He's a user. He said those things. I'm not telling. I posted the stories. Scroll back down my list, and you see all the hypocrisy from this man's mouth. He will do and say again anything to get elected. He is he contradicts the governor. He's just not a good person. Don't elect him. Vote for anyone. There's Kaika Anderson, Kirk Caldwell, Vicky Cayetano, maybe others I'm not aware of. He's the last person you want to have. Stop voting for people who get millions of dollars from big business and big campaigners. That's the last person you want to vote for. Josh Green is the last. He's a crybaby. He lives in a gilded cage in a bubble. He's a hypocrite. What more can I say about it? Everyone knows these things about him, but he is arrogant. Oh, back during the opioid crisis, I approached him about a device and his staff that would dispense and control. Pharmacy would seal a thing, and they make them now. And it would give you your pills every day. If you broke the seal, there'd be some consequences. Cutting people off of the opioids just pushed them onto heroin, Josh Green. Smart move. By the way, stop being an epidemiologist when you're just an emergency room doctor. You are not an epidemiologist. He's not an epidemiologist, folks. I'm not. Listen to the people who are professionals, right? He's not. He is just anything to get on TV. I'm so sick of seeing him, frankly. And he's Jewish. I'm Jewish. I can say whatever I want about him, but I won't. You know, he's almost Goyim. You're almost Goyim. You've had a few too many bagels, Josh. I can tell by the tummy like me. Move away from the buffet. Anyway, I don't like that guy. And later on, here's the other story. Why he and I have history. Yeah, and you'll remember this, Josh, if you're watching. I went in on opening day of the legislature 2 years in a row, and I tried to get you to put up on, in restaurants and workplaces, there's this labor board requirement. It tells about minimum wage and workers' comp rules and unemployment. And I tried to get you to, and they're starting to spall my building, of course, right when I'm talking. I tried to get it so people would know the tips rules, because employers steal tips here, and people get tips who shouldn't get tips, with a link to the website on the state site. You could and a QR code to take you right there. Just tell you the roles of tips and a way to complain about your employer anonymously if need be, for them stealing tips from you, right? Because instead of promising $15 an hour, which he knew he couldn't singularly do, which he did, I'm giving you $15 an hour. He knew that was never going to happen. I wanted to actually put money back in some people's pockets. It was being stolen by employers and other employees who the employer was using the money to give them in lieu of paying them himself. And who knows what else they were doing, creating all kinds of illegal acts. The other idea was, and it would be these posters. There would be a second idea. It's about the phony prepaid medical. Prepaid medical in Hawaii is where if you work more than 19 hours, you get medical coverage paid for in full, I believe, in full, by the owner of the business. I'm going to role play. There's a form. You come up to me. You're interviewing. You want to, my roommate doesn't like me talking politics. You want a job with me, just fill out this form I have here. And the form says that you have medical insurance. I don't need any proof. Just sign it, and I can give you full-time work. You have medical, right? Just sign right here. And it still exists. And it's been done to me way back. Not by my past employer. But I actually ended up paying nothing, which was cool. That's one of the few good things he did for me. Probably these. That's give me a job, which paid a lot of money. Anyway, but that ended. We won't go into that. That's another situation. Anyway, he said no 2 times in a row. He just said, thank you for the idea. And he looked at me like I was like an alien or a vampire or a zombie in his office. 2 great ideas. And I wanted them enforced by the health department, which is state investigators. They go in to make sure that these things aren't by the manager's office so people can read them, and also would have a link and a QR code so they could take a picture of it, take it home, and look at it on their own time. Because they, like where I just worked a while ago, not before the last place, They put it on the door that goes in and out of the kitchen, so you couldn't stand and you couldn't read it, and on purpose, so that nobody would. And it wasn't in most of the people there spoke a different language, and it should be in. If you see Pacific Islanders or people from Mexican people or Spanish-speaking people or Filipinos or what have you, that there should be other posters in the same language, and it should be constantly. Every year it's supposed to be updated, and they have to buy them. And they should make sure that that's part of the health inspection. Make sure that people have their rights known to them. He didn't support that, of course. So he's just but he wanted to give you $15 an hour, which wasn't ever going to happen. That's why I don't like him. The opioid, the prepaid medical, and the gratuity testing. Things that actually could get done. Common sense ideas that never happen here in Hawaii. Because people just say what you want to hear and then they don't ever do it. Anyway, don't vote for him. He's a clown. He's a clown. He's a loser. He's a pansy. Goodbye.